Hey, how you doing? Welcome back. If you're new, I'm Jimmy. We're making it work. We're gonna spend a day in the shop fixing Nissan Muranos. Third engine going in. Actually, fourth technically. It's the third engine we're installing after the original one blew up. And then the first two we put in also blew up. Let's see what happens with this one. I'm gonna get a sandwich if it's not running by Friday afternoon. I told him he wouldn't get it running before Joe got back from vacation 2 weeks ago. And so far I'm right. We'll see what happens. He's got a day and a half or 2 days to get it done. So I hope you're doing well. I'm doing great. A little frustrated lately because the work's just not flowing. Might have mentioned it. You can't do tires and oil changes while the other lead tech is on vacation and have a good week. So I'm doing okay. My hours aren't bad, but it's just I'm really having to hustle to get where I'm at. It feels like way more work for the same result. That makes sense. When you're on flat rate, you're always doing math, figuring out how much effort you put in versus what you got paid. And there's a lot of, it's almost like running your own business when you're a flat rate mechanic. But you're not in charge, which is the hard part. You're running your own business without being able to make any decisions for yourself. That's why I get frustrated, and hope that didn't come across too terribly yesterday. I was not in a good mood. I hustled all day and I only filmed 2 or 3 little repairs. Nick came by and went to lunch with us, and that was really nice. Nick's a good guy. He's got a YouTube channel too. I'll put a link down here to Nick's YouTube channel. He doesn't make nearly as many videos as I do, but he does make some videos. And he's a good guy. Back to the video at hand. The 75 Porsche, they're trying to find parts. It's got that Pertronics ignition in it. So it's all custom hot rod stuff. I think today I'm going to be mostly doing an evaporator core on a 2021 Kia Sorrento. They told me last night. So that's probably, it's like an 8-hour job, 10-hour job, something like that. I didn't look at the labor time, but we'll be definitely playing with that some today. I'll put some clips in if I do get to work on anything else. If the video just starts right here, that's going to be what I worked on all day. I got approval and a check engine light. All right, let's finish getting this place open up, see what we can do to learn a thing or two, have some fun, and go to our dentist appointment at 4 o'clock. The one that was canceled on Tuesday, it's today. So it's not going to be a full day, but it'll feel just like it because we're going to work so smooth and efficiently. Stay tuned. All right, first thing today, I got approval to do, that's leaking vacuum. We got approval to do some more work on this old C10 before we get started on those other jobs. It's got that misfire problem on cylinder 1. If you remember this truck from a couple weeks ago, it's got bad exhaust leaks. We need to fix misfire in cylinder 1. Leaking purge valve I just fixed just by capping it. We got a definite misfire on cylinder 1. I'm gonna get my vacuum gauge hooked up. I was going to use that leaking purge valve, but it only pulls about 9 or 10 inches of vacuum. I want to just see if mechanically, if it bounces my vacuum needle. I know I have a valve train problem. So I'm going to find a good vacuum source like the brake booster hose or something like that. And we'll see if we got some kind of valve train or compression issue to chase, or if it's something with a coil, injector, that kind of thing. If the vacuum gauge is steady, running compression's good, we're gonna go towards a coil or injector or something like that. All right, this hose is already split, so I went ahead and used that. We're gonna have to fix this hose, and we'll start it up, see what the vacuum gauge does. That doesn't make any sense. It's under the throttle blade unless that fork's clogged. Oh my goodness gracious. There's no vacuum on that. All right, let me find a different place. All right, I got pulled off of it again for a waiting Lincoln with the steering wheel shaking and engine light on. Vibration gets worse when you drive. Let's get it in the shop. It'll be right here behind me in a second, and we'll take a look. I feel a little better. Some people like crack, some like fentanyl. I just like Dunkin'. Automatic search. Let's look at the check engine light and the codes first, then I'll take it for a drive. The tires are all look like decent Michelins on it that are in really good shape, but maybe it's a brake pulsation. I don't know. It's kind of, it's vague to say it shakes and then it shakes worse when you're going down the road, which sounds like a tire, right? Factory installed navigation. Yeah. Oh, you guys want to see inside? Look at this thing. 70,000 miles. Love rating of 6. And 70,000 check engine light miles. Oil change due at 72. And our mileage is... I get a good idea of whether someone loves their car or not based on that. 2,000 miles is not due yet. Good. That means they take care of it. Come in 2,000 over, and I'm going to know you don't love your car right off the bat. Well, this here Lincoln has got Misfire cylinder 2 codes and random Misfire codes. I wonder if this thing just has like a bad coil and going down the road they feel the steering wheel with the Misfire, because the tires in the bay look pretty good. We're going to drive it. That's the bottom line. But I'm going to bring up Misfires. We're going to take a look at that, and then we're going to drive it. This way we can verify the Misfire, verify what they're feeling, and verify it's cylinder 2 all at the same time. I got, you guys remember that red Silverado with the distributor problem, right? I asked him about it today. What's going on with that thing? And I think he's bringing us a distributor for it that's adjustable, like 10 ways to Sunday, so we shouldn't have a problem with that. We're gonna finally get this thing sorted out. I'm waiting on a second key for the Mustang. I got a transmission module for the Audi. I got an evap for the Santa Fe. We got a lot of work. We just got to be able to get something done. Instead of running around in circles, going back and forth, it makes it kind of tough to get anything done, but you stay busy. That's what's good too, though. You stay busy. You want to stay busy. Last thing you want, be sitting around with nothing to do, right? It's traffic. Oh, I know. I just don't know what this car is going to do. Okay. Let's give it a whirl. I don't feel any vibration in the steering wheel. It's also not misfiring right now. Looks pretty good. Alright, I'm going to take it for a drive, see if I can do something. Doing it! Cylinder 2 dropping out. You son of a gun. Now it's blinking a check engine light. It's really sad. So we're going to go back to the shop. I think that coil's under the manifold probably. We'll see what we can sort out. There's so much traffic across the street, and it's backed up for like 2 miles that way, and it's all the way back to the shop. And to go this way, you go through schools and stuff, so I cut through the parking lot, came out to make a left turn here. I'm smart. This traffic is just brutal. We'll wait. We're back at the shop. Take 10-15 minutes. It's like a mile down the road, but it takes forever in this town. It's like California almost. Now we wait in the slow rolling traffic. This guy in front of me in this white Volkswagen, he made a right on red when I had a green arrow. Cut me off. Almost hit me. I don't think he realizes this isn't my car. You guys are familiar? Oh, look at this guy driving down the road to the grass. Cool. You gotta go, man. He'll probably cut in and make a right-hand turn. That wouldn't be the first time I've seen it. All right, let's be patient. Be patient. I got good news. The misfire went away again. Pay attention though. Don't rear end anybody. That would be bad. It's weird. That bike's been sitting there 2 or 3 days. It's weird. I get back to the shop. It's running like a champ again. All right. Got a print out of the firing order. As suspected, it's under the plenum in the back. The problem is with this being intermittent, you know pretty well it's not going to be compression. Compression is not going to be intermittent. You're most likely dealing with a coil connector, driver in the PCM. The third possibility is an injector driver in the PCM, and the fourth would be an injector. In that order is the probability of each one. We're gonna have to get the plenum off of there just to do some testing. We could try to move the coil. We got to take a really close look at the pigtail wires and connectors and stuff. I've seen a lot of them when they start to crumble, and if they intermittently touch or something, the coil will not fire. So we're gonna have to get permission from the customer to pull the plenum off to complete the diagnosis, which is most likely headed towards spark plugs and a coil. And any coil that's borderline, you probably want to change while you got the plenum off, which can make it pretty expensive. So it'll be up to the customer how far we go with all of that. And we'll see if we get permission to do that. They're waiting too, so they'd obviously have to drop it off. We'll see what happens with this one. I'm gonna do the inspection too, but that's a given. All right, update on the Mustang. Just fired it up. The locksmith guy is here. I asked for a second key. I guess they had a locksmith because the customer didn't have one. So the locksmith come out, program the keys, it's running. I just heard it fire up. Just wanted to update you. I pulled a spark plug out of this. It's got new plugs in it already, so that'll save them some dough. While they play with that estimate, I pulled my purge valve out. Got my vacuum gauge rock steady. We know we got a solid engine, so that's not our issue. So I'm going to put the purge valve back in, but first I'm going to check for spark right here. It's not misfiring right now, actually. Let me let it run a minute or two. Starts to misfire, it gets a little heat in it. I'm actually leaning pretty hard now towards the coil or injector problem. We just got to get it to do it. And then obviously I've mentioned 7 or 8 times, probably got to fix those exhaust leaks because the fuel trim is going to be all over the place. I'm going to let it start doing its thing, and then we'll check it for spark. It's not only got to have spark, it's got to have a strong spark. It's got to be able to fire like that far. Now these spark plug wire pliers are insulated a little bit, but not 100%. So I'm going to more focus on getting the spark to go to my test light that's grounded. I got coolant on the first spark plug I pulled out. It's drenched. It looks almost like moisture though, not necessarily like the plug's been cleaned. Is that from the engine you took out, or the one you want to put it in? I got green. And it's green. That's the only one that looks like that? This is the first one I pulled out. I'll pull them all out. It might just be condensation. Okay. So if I get temperature change a lot from yesterday to today, true, it's possible. The plug doesn't look like it's been steam cleaned. Okay. So I would venture to say it's probably condensation. Okay. I'm gonna bring them over. Especially if the other ones look like that. Yeah, I'm gonna bring the rest of them over. I need to continue before I go off. That's the only one that looks like that? Yeah. And it might be a problem. It was the first one I talked about. Got a good spark, so now I'm leaning towards moving an injector, see if it'll probably move. Injector sounds okay. It's so strange that the injectors sound really good in the stethoscope. If anything, the number 2 injector sounds a little odd, which is technically cylinder 3. But I was going to switch the wires and plugs from the 2 cylinders just to test that real quick. And I pulled this wire off. Of course, it broke, which happens. So now I got to get this piece off of the plug. And I went in my trusty toolbox. And I always keep a couple of these GM truck wires around for just such a purpose. Got one. It was already black too. This is the one that broke. So we're going to switch them real quick and see if the problem moves.
Hey, Jimmy. I got 1 and 4. That was the wet one. Another wet one, but they're too dry. Just condensation?
Yeah, it's just condensation.
Okay. All right.
That engine probably sat out in the salvage yard for a few days. So it's probably
great. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
I know I'm getting a free sandwich.
That thing locks up again.
You got till 5 o'clock tomorrow. That spark plug wasn't tight. I'm gonna move it still. That probably wasn't causing a big problem, but it could be. Oh, that hits the header. That's silly. I gotta get a jointed plug socket. I bought this in the 90s for Cadillac engines. I don't use it too often. I don't know if it'll even fit. Let's see. Oh, see what I'm talking about? Snap-on tools to the rescue. It is a snap-on tool. That's pretty cool. Back when I was a fanboy and wore the hats and shirts everywhere I went, wore a jacket in the winter, snap-on boots, snap-on belt. I was bad. Ugh. And now people think I'm a hater, but it's not true. I don't hate snap-on. just don't idolize them like I used to. Let me get these plugs changed out. Stop flapping. We'll see if a problem moves. We'll fire up the scanner, take a look at the data between cylinders 1 and 3. That wire on cylinder 3 was broken. Not even the same plugs. You got different plugs. Autolite, NGK Iridium, and the part number's different because you see the way the electrode is different. That's not right. I'm going to carry on with moving the plug and wire even though they're not the same plugs. That's already a problem. But I don't know if it's the problem. So I'm going to move them even though I don't like it. See if the problem moves. We'll just gotta stay focused. Squirrel! Definitely still feel a misfire. You don't need to see them all. Let's graph it. Still cylinder 1. That's what the injector disconnected. Actually runs better. This injector is probably the problem. You just got to prove it out. No misfires. The zero's right here, where this line is. Now that's the new 0. It just moved it to the top of the screen. It's not misfiring now. It's running pretty good. Just running really rich. There's something going on with that injector. I can still hear it clicking, so I know it's being fired. Let's put the scope on it and see what the pattern looks like, just for fun. All right. This is cylinder 3 injector. Take a note of how that looks. See our little pencil bump and all that. So now we'll go to injector and cylinder 1 and see how the pattern looks in comparison. Uh-oh, I need my probe. Looks about the same. That's interesting. I noticed there's a bigger gap between the pintle bump, but nothing conclusive from that. Let's go back to the other one, in case our memory's foggy. Yeah, it does look about the same. Very interesting. There's a slight difference. Maybe I could make it larger. Let's try looking at the other one with it larger like that. Yeah, it's about the same. Alright. Now what do we do? I want to fix those exhaust leaks just to stop it from smelling like that and get the fuel trim a little better. But that's a separate problem from what we're dealing with now. Try a resistance test just for kicks. I'll do it a couple times, make sure I've got a good connection. Number 1, injector's broken. 2, the plastic around the connector area, but probably wouldn't stop it from working, depending on how it broke. Not the same. And it is the same. 8,000 ohms. As long as I've got all my connections good, which comparing one to the other, it's kind of strange. It might not bounce the needle if the valve's not opening at all, but if the valve's burnt, it bounces the needle, kind of thing. It's the only thing I can think of. We've eliminated everything else. It really concerns me that if I unplug the injector and plug it back in, it runs better. How my pattern looks good is very baffling. But you do not change anything in the valve chamber mechanically by messing with the injector. And the way a chunk of it's broken off of there and really running around in circles. When things don't seem to be going that well in the shop, it makes everything harder. Like something simple like this, you start letting doubt creep in and wondering what your next move should be, other than trying to get this clamp straight. It's running good right now. This thing might have just an injector connection issue, but it wasn't doing it when I had my scope on there. But it was running bad. Very strange. Don't worry. Changes the way it runs for a second. The computer's making some kind of a change. I'll plug it back in. You see a chunk of the injector's missing. It jumped up to 0, no misfires. Something's going on between the relationship between the injector connector, and the driver and the PCM. I just have to figure out what. I'm going to start with an injector and a connector. I bought one of these from my truck, but I never put it on. I was going to use it for the fuel injection I put on, but they said they wanted everything hooked right to the battery because the battery works as like a capacitor. Takes care of noise a little bit. So that's what I did. I didn't use it, but I'm going to wait for this to start misfiring again, unplug the injector and plug it back in, see if it starts running good again. The only thing better than working on classic cars is classic cars with ghosts. But we know it's not a valve train problem, because it would care less if I plugged the injector in and unplugged the injector and all that kind of stuff. Although the computer would do things to compensate for that, it would not fix the misfire. And it's pretty quick and easy to put an injector and connector in there and see how it runs. If there is something weird going on with the driver, possibly caused by that issue, but the wire colors are correct to all the injectors. We verified that the other day. Everything else is good. Mechanically, it's good. The engine looks like it was remanufactured or rebuilt or whatever, but it looks fairly fresh. So the fact that it comes and goes, it runs good when you first start. When it gets hot is when it acts up. I just wish that while I have my scope on it, I could have seen a big difference in the injector patterns between the driver or the injector itself. I looked at the peak voltage, it was the same from 1 to 3. So we're going to start somewhere just to start eliminating things, because the time at this point is more expensive than an injector. So that's what we're going to do. I haven't heard anything, but I see parts stacked up on this car. I'm guessing I'm putting them in. Let's do that. That'll be fun. At least we get something that we're going to be headed in the right direction. I'm wondering this one if I can sneak this manifold forward and get to the back bank without too much fuss. I definitely got to take this bellows out of the way. We'll do that first. Someone lives down the dirt road. I think I'll put the front coils in first. I thought we were just going to do the back ones. I'm sure they're probably made in China, from Mexico or something, but they work. That's what really matters. Made in China. The plugs are new, like I mentioned earlier. These already have dielectric grease. 8mm. Whoever tuned it up didn't put the safeties back, but that's alright. They don't normally come off by mistake anyway. Nice tight fit. If these are really hard to push in, it's not on all the way. Let's put them out of our way. See what that back looks like. Some lines, there's plenty of slack in that. There is a brace under here under the throttle body. Feels like it's stripped out. Like a nut and a bolt, and it's bent. It's always an adventure. Everything's an adventure. It's like it's spinning in the manifold. Uh-oh. Now none of us can see. You know what happened? That was cross-threaded last time. It was when the plugs were put in. It was cross-threaded and left. So we'll have to take it off at the bottom and then see if we can do something about that while it's apart. It might need a manifold to really fix it right. Uh-oh. Yeah, that's what it is. That bracket's flopping around. That makes me kind of sad. Someone started it with a power tool instead of by hand. You know the rules. Oh, these aren't even pushed down the manifold. That helps too. It's getting way easier the more I look. Take this bracket off. It's supposed to be longer. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Popped this hose off of here, but I could have left it on and there was no clamp down there. Doesn't look that over from the factory, it doesn't have one. Okay, that's fine. That's how you want to do it. Now I can get to the curls. Oddly enough, they look like they're still plugged in. The safeties at least. Alright. I'm gonna get them out of there real quick. I heard it click. Should come off, right? There it is. Alright. It's a tight squeeze. Gonna be really sad if we turned it into switch all the coils out rather than look at them and it doesn't fix it, but we'll see. Worst case scenario, I'll take them back out. Not really that hard to get this plenum off of there. It's literally 10 minutes. So I do want to pull the spark plug out and make sure these rear plugs were changed, just judging by the rest of the way the work was done. It's not past some mechanics to do the front plugs and not the back ones because they're harder. Oh my goodness, I should have got a power tool. There we go. Well, seemed like 40 minutes unscrewing that. Might not have been quite that long, but it seemed like it. There you go. Technology's awesome when it works. Okay, they did change the back ones too. I feel better. Got new ones, might as well use them. These are pretty easy. You feel it. You can feel the grooves and you pop them up in the groove, and they'll be new. Those are all in. All my gasket surfaces are going to be beautiful. It would be really nice if we go down the road and this thing runs great. That rear hose is going to help me hold it up. I do have to put the clamp back on. Should not be nothing but a thing.
Doing okay so far?
Doing okay. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Alright, good. I'm glad to hear that, man. It needs a injector, an injector connector on cylinder 1, and then I'll be able to find out if the PCM is going to work correctly after that.
Injector connector?
Injector and connector for cylinder 1.
Injector and connector. 10 ports?
Yep.
For that, they showed about 2007 Sorrento, correct?
2005.
2005.
At least the PCM. At least the PCM is. I'm not sure what the injectors are from.
I gotta call them.
Because every few years they change it.
Yes, they do.
We're gonna have to do some investigative. Get an injector. We'll see if it matches up.
Yeah, I'll just call them so that way I can get on my the data that I need.
All right. We're not gonna worry about the top right now. We're gonna get this buttoned up the best we can, see how it runs, and then go from there. Always tighten the center out and tighten the braces and brackets that hold it last. The holes in that brace is always larger than the bolt, so there's room for it to move around. That's why you don't want to tighten it first. And these are boogered up pretty good. Good morning. Putting these push pins back. This one doesn't want to go in. Maybe that's why they left it out, but it's kind of boogered up so bad. And I noticed that clamp's not on. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on though, because I'm cool like that. Not that it's hard. Amazed it wasn't leaking at all. I also, this fell off. I didn't take it off. It must not have been on all the way, because it fell off, which that's not supposed to happen, right? Got my clamp on this hose. Everything's torqued down good. Got to put my air snorkel in. We're going to see how this thing runs. Let's try it out. Fast and Furious, bro. Got a bad injector. So I said it probably has a bad coil. I'll have to take the plenum off and take a look at it, but so positive and optimistic that it was going to be a coil, and I pulled it off and looked at it. I'm like, man, it doesn't look like anything's going on. Put it back together, misfire right off the bat. If anything, it felt like it was running worse. Injector's wide open after it gets some heat in it. We'll put an injector in it and then we'll see how it runs. To do the injector, 4 8mm bolts, 6 connectors. Pull the rail up. You can just pop that one injector out. There's a little retainer clip right here. Retainer clip right here. Easy peasy. Try not to let fuel dump into the injector hole, because then it floods the cylinder and you have more problems. This injector popped off the rail and stayed there, so it drained the rail, which is lower than this one. So I shouldn't get any fuel out of that. Got my little clip, just slides into the slot. Suggests that they stay in the rail, but half of them will, half of them won't. Now let's see if we can pop this out of here. They can be quite stubborn. Only a tiniest little bit of fuel. The O-ring stayed in there. We'll fish that out. New injector's on the way. Let's try it again. It's going to run bad at first because there's no fuel in the fuel rail. Let's start it up. Now the rail's full of fuel. I can already tell it's running great. It's going to take a little while to get some data. We're going to look at a good power balance screen. I'm going to take it for a drive like I did last time. I still got to wash up. Not terribly dirty, but too dirty to drive a tan vehicle. We'll bring up that power balance screen real quick. Take a look. I can feel it running great. But I want to see it on the screen too and make sure the computer is going to be happy. Just because Jimmy happy doesn't mean Lincoln happy. All right, special functions, power balance. Okay, it's even running even better on 2 than it is on 5 and 3 now. That's good, nothing to worry about. I'm gonna take this thing for a drive. I already checked all the fluids, all that stuff's good, and hopefully this is done. We can get on something else. She's been waiting the whole time too. All right, let's go. You guys might remember this 79 Warlock. Very nice truck, nice old guy. He said he rebuilt the carburetor since he was here last. It started flooding. He wanted me to check his idle. And if you remember this truck, he couldn't put the center caps on because he needs to put spacers to move the wheel out so the center cap fits over the grease cap. And to do that, he's got to get longer studs because it doesn't grab enough threads. So we're going to do that too. I'm just going to raise his idle a tiny bit. It sounds pretty close, and then we'll get the wheel studs going. Just gave it a little bump on a little screw facing the back. It faces the distributor cap actually. I'm not sure what this little floaty washer is. He's got a piece of chicken wire wrapped around the throttle shaft holding everything on, I guess. Anyway, that he did himself. So that's perfect. They got him waiting here. He was waiting while the other customer was waiting that I was working on. And he came in waiting. And this is like a 3-hour job. What's kind of strange, they look like they might be too long now. Maybe not. Yeah, they are a little too long. Because all we want to add is the length of the spacer. Because this sticks out of the hub like this. So when you put the spacer on, it kind of ends up like that. And that's all the nut can grab is about 4 or 5 threads. So this might be too long. What'll happen then is the caps will get pushed off the nuts. Let's get a wheel off and take a closer look. These are the studs he brought last time, thinking they were longer than stock and they're the same length. He said, no, the black ones are long, the silver ones are short. I'm like, I don't think it goes by the color of the nuts, but that's fine. These are the center caps, they're nice. It's supposed to go over and cover that ugly grease caps. Then it'll be show truck. Yeah, it's good to go. The only thing that fits in here is a slim 21 or a 3/8 21 with an adapter. My mag wheel sockets won't fit. The center cap comes so close to the nut. I didn't even know we're replacing them. I gotta be able to put it back together with the new ones. Nuts are pretty nasty. Told me last night I got a big evaporator job I gotta get done. Okay. It's about lunchtime. And after lunch I got 2 hours and I gotta leave for the dentist. I'm hoping I get this one done, never mind anything else. He's waiting, so it's gotta be done. What happens if I can't get it done? I don't know. What happens? Where the threads start is where it peeks out of the rotor. Not sure what I'm looking at here. Where the threads start is where it seems to peek out of the rotor. You would think with the knurl that would be where it was. Or maybe it's back further? I don't know. Because it looks like the threads end right here. Well, let's see. That's all we can do. We'll try it. I can analyze, calculate, and try to wrap my brain around it. And then we could try it, see what would happen. 2 13s or 1/2 inch, I'm not sure. This is one of those years where it could be metric or standard, I believe. 79, maybe it's not. This might be standard. Maybe it was 81, 82 they started mixing them, I forget. Here's a 1/2 inch, and like a glove. I remember last time, if you watch a lot of my videos, when I worked in this truck, I fixed cracks in the frame. I did steering linkage, brakes and stuff. Well, I didn't do the brakes. I took them apart to try to do the studs and put it back together. It doesn't need brakes. I think I did brake hoses. Ow. Wish I was a steel toe. But it wasn't. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Right on my toe. The brakes are not the bestest. Now, grease cap, cotter pin, and a tension nut. In this case, I put a rag on the lift. I don't like to make the lift all greasy. If you treat them really nice, you can reuse them, I heard. Have to decide if we're going to reuse that one or not. I don't know yet, tell you the truth. Nope, now I'm not. It fell on the ground. It's trying to get away, so be it. That's fine. But I won't leave it on the ground because it'll puncture a tire, probably. Now for this, it shouldn't be crazy tight, especially if I'm the one that did it last. There should be a bump, and then it's loose. Now I don't have to take the inner bearing out. I will pop the outer bearing out so that it's not flopping around while I do the studs. Probably going to pack his bearings while they're apart too. They look to be in great shape. Normally I would put the nut back on there and pop the bearing and seal off. Doesn't hurt the bearing. Some people will tell you it does, but it's because they don't know what they're talking about. This thing might not come off the spindle. That's unusual. That is unusual. Let's go over to the workbench. I'll get that off afterwards. I don't know what the big deal was. Customer's been out here helping me, so I'm gonna try to film the other side more. Apologize. Well, these studs are so long, and the final little bit of seating is gonna be done by torquing the wheel on. Hot rod stuff. On the next rotor, I'm going to be sure to hammer them 100% flat, so I don't have to do this. Or I'll probably have to, but not as much. The center cap just pops in it. Alright. Got new bolts. Might as well give him his new bolts. Only goes on one way. What do you guys fart over there or something? The heck? think the stud just touches the top of the nut when it's tight, at least in the experiment. So we'll see how it goes. Of course, we're going to put a torque wrench on those. Do it every time, but it's really critical on something like that. You don't know if that stud's 100% seated yet. First things first, we're going to pack these bearings. Put a little grease in a hand, take the space between the inner and outer where the rollers are, and just pick up a little grease with it. Pick up a little grease, a little grease, a little grease, and all of a sudden it comes out the other side. Roll the bearing. You'll see the grease come out the other side, you're good. If it's got old grease in it, these were just packed like a few months ago. But anytime I take a bearing out, I'm going to redo it. If it had old nasty grease, you keep going until the nasty grease comes out. If there's any metal, obviously you got to replace them. Go ahead and get this out of the way so it's done. I'm going to do the outer bearing too. Then we're going to transfer over the studs on this rotor, and hopefully he doesn't come out to help. He was trying to hold the rotor and stuff. I had to tell him, hey, you can't get hurt in here, man. Nice guy, but you can't come into a shop and help. It's like going to the doctor's office and helping. Hey, well, you're doing my wife's surgery. Mind if I help? No, can't help. Mopping up around here, I don't know what. Now, getting the old ones out, pretty easy. I do put a rag down to kind of protect the rotor. Workbench on the edge. Use the socket, kind of brace the rotor up, and use these blocks of wood to hold the other side, kind of. It's not exactly flat, but it's close. Brass tip on that. Notch in the washer. That'll work. Same as the other side. See if this one fits without all the tribulations. Nope. Not with studs this long. We'll get this one to fit too. We'll come right back. I gotta charge you up. Uh-oh. Eco boom on the left. This side I didn't hammer them in 100% flush, and the other side I didn't either, but I got it way closer, 99% on the driver's side. But now I have to drive it, and then I'll recheck the wheel torque after driving it and getting some weight on it and making some left and right turns, just in case. Looks kind of familiar. I'm just not sure if I said the evaporator was leaking or if I looked at the AC and couldn't find a leak, and I don't remember. This is the car getting evaporated though. 2021 Kia Sorrento at 77,000 miles. Got a stockpile under the seats. You gotta take the seats, center console, carpeting, wiper cowl, wiper motor, dash. It's all got to come out. Vámonos. I got the tailgate open so I can put parts in the back. I don't know if they're a carpenter or mechanic or what, but I don't really want to touch that sheet, but there's a lot of DeWalt stuff in there. So that's cool. I got to keep my eye on this stuff and make sure there's the same amount of stuff still in there, because we're open to the world over here. So it's a little risque. And I don't want to move it though, because this is the same as taking it if you move it, because it's not in the same spot. Let's get started. I got the battery disconnected so it can start discharging. Gonna give it a level rating of 3, and we're gonna get to work. It's got cigarette ashes everywhere, and I'm gonna let it air out a little bit with the battery disconnected. That's the plan. I'll take the wiper cowl out first. There's some bolts that hold the cross brace for the dash under the wiper cowl, so you got to take that stuff out of the way. This should lift up, I think. There you go. Just need 2 hands. That's why you gotta take the wiper motor out. Those bolts help hold the dash in, and that whole dash is coming out. I just mentioned to Nick while we were at lunch yesterday, taking dashes out of cars. Next thing you know, boom. Shouldn't have said it. I actually don't mind this kind of work, but for 7 hours it seems a little excessive. And a happy, cheery disposition coming up. Now, they want you to take the battery out to get to that bolt, but you know me, I love a challenge. If you touch the battery ground, you'll just reactivate some modules. Oh, is that a 12? It looks like a 14 from here. Everything looks bigger to me. Oh yeah? Gonna be that way, a little studio light? That's fine. Now if I leave that right there, just gotta make a note. Don't forget it. I like taking the bolts out so I see whether I've put them in or not, but when I put them 2 in, that bottom one is in the same brace for the steering column support. I hooked the machine up to this thing. There was 0 refrigerant in it, but I'm getting ready to head to the dentist now, so we're buttoning up today's video right here, and we'll carry on this Kia in the morning. Thanks for watching today. Torque the like button if you got anything from it. Tune in to the next one. Hope I see you there, because you're awesome.